Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the schizoid character, which is one of the schizoid conditions in W.R.D. Fairbairn's theory on types of schizoid conditions. In a previous video, we focused on the psychopathic personality of a schizoid type, along with schizophrenia proper and a schizoid state or episode. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it above and also in the description below so that you can check that out. W.R.D. Fairbairn put the different types of schizoid conditions on a spectrum according to the severity of ego splitting that they experienced, with the schizoid episode experiencing the lowest amount of splitting and schizophrenia proper experiencing the most. We'll go on to look at the schizoid character. Also, I'm going to be contrasting the schizoid character with the psychopathic schizoid so that you can compare and contrast the differences. Now for the schizoid character. Now this is the similar to the schizoid personality that I usually talk about, and these are people who have made basic adaptations, and this could be due to innate sensitivity, lack of parental attunement, it could be a hostile environment, emotional neglect, or relational trauma, and they have experienced ego splitting or detachment from their emotions to guard against emotional pain. With the schizoid character, there is still potential to experience deep or strong emotions. Not all will. They can get to the point where they lose their effect to the point where they feel empty inside, but with the schizoid psychopath, they all like that. Whereas with the schizoid character, they're not necessarily like that, but they could be like that. So I wanted to make that point. They're more likely to have desires for connection and have that conflict between wanting to be close to someone and then needing to withdraw or be away to conserve their autonomy. But I'll go through the list of potential manifestations to make that clearer. So they'll have the lack of adherence to society norms, preference for solitude and privacy, reliance on fantasy, introspection and intellectualization, conflict between connection and fear of intimacy. They may experience strong or turbulent feelings that then can go on to feelings of emptiness. They may lack recognition of their personal needs because of depersonalization, have challenges with boundary management. They will be quite conflict avoidant in general, and they might prefer animals over people. So this is the schizoid dynamics that a lot of you are more familiar with. And so I think I made that differentiation between the schizoid that has psychopathic traits and the schizoid that does not. But I will go on further just to make it super, super clear, because I think it's important that we know that there are differences. So here we're going to have a look at the difference between the psychopathic schizoid and the schizoid character. So I'm going to start at the top with primary defenses and maskings. I'll start with the psychopathic schizoid and go across to schizoid character, and then we'll work our way down, and this should make it really clear. Primary defenses and masking. The psychopathic schizoid is withdrawn, emotionally detached socially, and may mask to blend in socially or gain advantage. The schizoid character is the same, however, their masking is also to avoid negative attention, and they don't have such a strategic pull towards trying to control for their own advantage. The general behavior of the psychopathic schizoid is calculated and strategic. The schizoid character tends to be more passive, indirect, and subtle. Empathy and emotion. The psychopathic schizoid lacks empathy, may be capable of cognitive empathy, but inwardly emotionally indifferent to others' needs. So they might really not care about other people's suffering as a consequence of their actions. On the other hand, the schizoid character may be capable of cognitive and affective empathy and attuned with other people's needs. So they can feel very deeply. It does depend, but they have the capacity to feel deeply, whereas the psychopathic schizoid does not. Social interaction. The psychopathic schizoid superficially uses relationships strategically, often for gain, similar as before, with a schizoid character. Same superficial social interaction. However, they may avoid relationships altogether because they're not apt to get anything from anyone. And also, they may only engage in social interactions when it's necessary, like for work, or if they feel like there's obligations from family, things like that, they might engage with relationships. Whereas with the psychopathic schizoid, it's like if it's not for some sort of personal gain, they're probably really not going to do it. So with this schizoid character, there are variances. So I'm just showing that there is more potential differences, whereas with the psychopathic schizoid, they're more rigid, they're more like the same in that respect, whereas the schizoid character has got more sort of flexibility and variance in how it manifests. Relationship style. Uses relationships strategically, talking about the psychopathic schizoid. They're quite utilitarian and potentially manipulative. They seek power and control over others for reasons that I've already described. The schizoid character can be socially ambivalent, talking about that push-pull, like should I get close to someone, shouldn't I? They can be avoidant or just disinterested. After some push and pull, like they can just, or even without recognition of that, they can get into a disinterested state and not want to interact with people. They can use relationships for temporary connection, so they might get involved with people but not maintain relationships over the long run, or for obligatory necessity, so that could be work or family, things they have to do. They seek emotional safety and self-preservation. Speaks for itself. The use of fantasy. The psychopathic schizoid may fantasize about power, dominance, or success, but relies more on real-world manipulation. So this is one area where they can vary on, because there's a spectrum with this. So there's some of them that they would have quite a rich fantasy life, but not necessarily, because it depends on the childhood. They may not have had the luxury of going off into fantasies. If they were under stress and duress in the environment, they may have turned their focus outward towards that more often. So it's possible that for some psychopathic schizoids, that this is not, that the fantasy is not so much of a coping mechanism, but it might be something that more supports like sort of the fantasies of manifesting their grandiosity. The schizoid character uses fantasy to escape into an internal world where they can meet unmet needs through their imagination, and also they can feel safe there. Risk of antisocial behavior. So with the psychopathic schizoid, there's a higher risk that they might engage in antisocial behaviors or criminal activities than the schizoid character. That doesn't mean that they necessarily will, but there's a higher propensity for that. It also doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to harm people. I think that they tend to be quite logical and calculated, so they're going to assess what they're doing. And I will go on after this to compare the psychopathic schizoid with a normal psychopath and ASPD, just so you can further understand that what I'm describing here isn't a classic psychopath and it isn't antisocial personality disorder. The psychopathic schizoid is in a different category, which you will see. But the last box is schizoid character, risk of antisocial behavior. The risk of antisocial behavior is lower for the schizoid character because of the risk aversion, not wanting to get in trouble, not wanting to be around people if you don't have to, and that can deter them from acting out in an antisocial way. However, I must say that anybody is capable of engaging in antisocial behaviors, just like anyone, including neurotypical people and just anyone. So I was talking about the potential for that. Okay, we'll go on. It's a list of the 4 types we've covered: schizophrenia proper, the psychopathic schizoid personality, the schizoid character, and when someone experiences a schizoid state or episode. That's the theory. And I hope that you found it interesting and that it was clear enough and I didn't overwhelm you with like loads of information, because it's something that I've really been wanting to talk about for a while, and maybe I will need to revisit it. But I think that I have simplified it as much as I can to try and make it clear. And I hope they do some more research and they can find out some more things about, schizophrenia and schizoid dynamics and all the other psychological conditions and autism as well, because it's 2025 now. So yeah, that's it really. But I hope you liked the video, and if you've got any thoughts about this, that'll be interesting. In the next video, I'm going to be comparing the psychopathic schizoid with the classic psychopath, which used to be a clinical diagnosis before 1980, after which the antisocial personality disorder took over in the DSM. I'll also be contrasting that as well. So if you'd like to see the difference between the psychopathic schizoid, the classic psychopath, and also antisocial personality disorder, stay tuned, and that will be coming up in the next video.